Title: Whispers of the Forest. The sun had barely dipped behind the horizon when a group of friends set off into the boreal pines for their weekend camping trip. Sarah, the planner, led the way with a confident smile, while Alex followed closely, his backpack bouncing on his shoulders. Mark and Jamie brought up the rear, their playful laughter echoing off the trees. "Are you sure this is a good idea?" Mark quipped, adjusting his glasses. "Aren't these woods supposed to be haunted or something?" "Just stories, Mark. Don't tell me you're scared." Sarah rolled her eyes, but a hint of unease flickered in her heart. She brushed it off, determined to prove him wrong. They set up camp a few yards from a picturesque lake, its surface shimmering as the last rays of sunlight disappeared. As darkness encroached, Sarah built a fire and they gathered around, roasting marshmallows and sharing ghost stories. Shadows danced around them as the flames flickered, illuminating their faces amidst the growing gloom. "Legend has it, there are wendigos in these woods," Jamie said, her voice low and mysterious. "Spirits of the forest that embody hunger and greed. They say you can hear them whispering your name when you're lost." "Oh come on, that's just an old wives' tale," Alex scoffed, taking a bite of his s'more. But Sarah couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that crept into her chest. The night wore on, and after the campfire had died down to glowing embers, the friends retired to their tents. Sleep came slowly for Sarah. She thought she felt a presence outside, something like a shadow flickering at the edge of her vision. The wind howled through the trees, but it was a voice, a whisper carried by that wind, that kept her awake. "Sarah, Sarah," she shook her head, trying to dismiss the sound as the rustling of leaves. However, the name echoed again, closer this time. "Sarah, come outside?" Heart pounding, she slowly unzipped her tent, peering into the inky darkness. "Hello?" Silence enveloped her, thick and suffocating. Tentatively, she stepped outside. The cold night air prickled her skin and her breath formed little clouds in front of her. The fire pit was eerily quiet, the embers barely glowing. The trees around her seemed more alive than before, breathing, watching. "Sarah, over here?" The voice beckoned from deeper within the woods, soft yet oddly familiar. She hesitated but felt drawn toward it, an undeniable urge gnawing at her gut. Cautiously, she ventured further away from the camp, the underbrush crunching softly beneath her feet. 10 minutes later, she stopped, realizing she had wandered too far. The familiar sounds of her friends were gone. Another chill ran down her spine. Just then, she heard a rustling behind her. Turning quickly, she spotted a figure lurking among the trees. It was tall and gaunt, limbs elongated and unnatural. Its skin was stretched tight over its bones, and its eyes glowed like dying embers. "Sarah," it whispered again, but the sweetness in its tone sent a wave of dread crashing over her. "Who are you?" she stammered, her voice trembling. "Come closer, I have something to show you." It took a step towards her, its skeletal fingers reaching out, and the moonlight illuminated its face. Its mouth stretched wide in a grotesque grin, exposing rows of jagged teeth. She turned and ran, her heart racing. Branches clawed at her skin, but she pushed through the pain, hoping to outpace the horror pursuing her. "Sarah," the voice wasn't the Wendigo. It was Mark, frantically calling her name. Relief flooded through her as she spotted the glow of their campfire in the distance. "Mark," she sprinted towards him, the figure still trailing behind. She felt a freezing breath on her neck as she dove into the circle of light. "What happened?" he asked, panic etched all over his face. "You disappeared." Without answering, Sarah pointed into the darkness. The Wendigo lurked just beyond the firelight, its eyes burning with an insatiable hunger. It stood there for a moment, its twisted smile fading, before it melted back into the shadows from whence it came. "We need to leave, now," she urged, struggling to regain her breath. As they rushed to pack their belongings, Jamie woke up, bleary-eyed. "What's going on?" Sarah's panic was contagious, and soon they were on high alert. Alex was adamant about staying, convinced it was all just an illusion, but Mark and Sarah disagreed. They had all felt it, the pull of the forest and the stifling presence that followed. As they trudged through the woods with flashlights in hand, whispers seeped from the trees. Sarah, Alex, Mark, Jamie, each rustle seemed to draw closer, and the fear surged in their hearts again. "Stay together," Mark yelled. But the woods shifted, paths twisted, and before long, they found themselves retracing their steps, lost amid trees that loomed like ancient sentinels. One by one, they began to panic. Jamie screamed as a shadow lunged at her from the tree line, disappearing just as quickly. It was chaos, broken only by the chilling wind carrying their names in its echoing, haunting voice. Sarah, Alex, desperation seized them, and they ran, hearts hammering in their chests. They could feel the cold breath behind them, the hunger pressing in, demanding to be satisfied. Paranoia gripped them like a vice, and they could no longer tell what was real. Mark stumbled, and in an instant, the darkness swallowed him whole. Jamie screamed, her voice piercing the night as another shadow reached out, snatching her away. Panic consumed Sarah and Alex. They broke into a sprint, grasping at sanity as they accelerated towards the fading light of their camp, but it felt like the forest was closing in, relentless in its pursuit. "Keep going, we can't stop," Alex screamed, but a powerful wind surged, knocking him off his feet, and Sarah could only watch in horror as he vanished into the gloom. It was all wrong. The forest had insatiable hunger. They could hear it, rustling, whispering, beckoning in the depths of darkness. The sounds of the world fell silent except for her heartbeat thrumming in her ears and the haunting whispers converging. Sarah, with more adrenaline than she thought possible, she bolted toward the camp. Her eyes locked on the flames, the only sanctuary from the horrors of the forest. But as she burst from the tree line, the camp was empty. The fire was doused to embers, and all evidence of her friends had vanished like shadows in the night. Sarah realized she was truly alone. The Wendigo had taken them all. It breathed them in like a feast, leaving her only to hear their voices trapped in the whispering trees. Sarah, a chilling laugh floated through the air, echoing all around her, drawing her closer to the shadows where more whispers awaited. Withering under the tremendous weight of dread and isolation, she succumbed to the whispers that promised comfort in the embrace of the woods. Despite her terror, she felt the call of the forest, the hunger clenching within. With a final scream for her friends, Sarah vanished into the dark, leaving behind only the echo of her name that would haunt these woods forevermore.